Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Links are in the description below. Please show some love of the author and me. On to the show.
The troops sent in the morning had long since completed their mission, and the area now explored by Meng Ze had expanded to nearly 80 square kilometers, almost a circle. Before Meng Ze withdrew from the interstellar world, another wave of exploration was scheduled. This time the exploration distance is still small, with the base location as the center. Continue to explore 5 kilometers outward. Meng Ze is also worried, afraid that if he explores too far, he will encounter some trouble that he can't bear. Before going to bed, Meng Ze received a message from Chi Mei, and Meng Ze accompanied some of them to chat for a while. Most of the time Chi Mei was talking. For Chi Mei, Meng Ze can't say whether he likes it or not, but the other party is a simple beautiful girl. Take the initiative to chat with him, and definitely won't hate it. However, the first time, a girl took the initiative to talk to herself. Meng Ze still had a little imagination in her heart. It took a while to toss and turn before Meng Ze fell asleep, but this night, Meng Ze is destined to have a bad night's sleep. At more than 3 o'clock in the morning, Meng Ze was woken up by the system prompt, and he was originally a little confused, but as soon as he saw the information on the virtual projection screen, the whole person suddenly woke up. Your troops crossed the unknown barrier. Your troops have completed their exploration mission, and are returning. Your troops have been disturbed by unknown and their return is blocked. Please ask the commander to give instructions. Your troops entered an unknown area. Your troops found ruins. Emergency alert. Your troops are under attack. The troops held out in place. Troop reduction. Ask the commander to give instructions. Meng Ze quickly entered the interstellar world. His eyes swept over the large screen of the command center, and the existing positions of all the soldiers sent out faintly formed a non-existent circle. Could it be that my position is completely obscured? Meng Ze said heartily. But now is not the time to think about it. In the upper left corner of the large screen, red light is constantly flashing. Meng Ze hurriedly switched perspectives, and one of his exploratory teams was engaged in a fierce exchange of fire with something that looked like a monster. Meng Ze selects the monster and the monster's information is displayed on the screen. Jerk Jumper, Level 1, 50 health points, Attack Power 10, Defense Power 1, Faster Speed, good at winning with quantity. Looking at the overwhelming swarm of jumping insects on the screen, Meng Ze trembled in his heart. Is this amount too big? The crossfire of the biochemical lancers formed a dense attack network, and there were spitters to fill the leaks nearby, but even this could not completely prevent the jumping insects from getting close. Once close, the sharp minions of the jumping insects can easily tear through the armor of the gunners. Now that many of the lancers had fallen to the ground, and the number of personnel was still decreasing, Meng Ze was scrambling to mobilize the surrounding troops to support. Unaware of the size of the enemy, Meng Ze quickly mobilized half of his troops to the base for follow-up support. After observing for a while, he found that although the jumping insects attacked on all sides, the number was significantly smaller in the direction of the base. Meng Ze immediately commanded the troops to fight and retreat, and when they reached the unknown wall of the base, even if they could not enter, at least the direction of the guard would be reduced by half. The jumping swarm does not seem to be smart, only knows how to rush and do it brutally. Under Meng Ze's command, the lancer units fought and retreated, and the medics were even able to treat them in action. The rate of attrition of troops suddenly decreased. Meng Ze then had the heart to observe the combat patterns of his own troops. To be honest, apart from one courageous character, there seems to be no other characteristic. The biochemical arms are not like real-life troops, where the fetal flesh is weakened as long as individual parts are injured. Meng Ze's biochemical soldier team was cut all over the body by the minions of the jumping insects, and even some limbs were mutilated. But these soldiers don't seem to know the pain. As long as the weapons are still there, the firepower will not be affected at all. But there will be some obstacles to mobility. I saw that some soldiers had their legs and feet cut off and were still heroically attacking. Meng Ze was a little unbearable, and hurriedly directed the troops to reduce the speed of retreat, trying to bring these soldiers back. But as the troops' retreat slowed, casualties suddenly increased. Staying in place for a while, Meng Ze found himself too emotional, and when there was room for such an enemy, annihilation in motion was the best option. No wonder you must have a strong heart to be a leader. In just 2 or 3 minutes, because of Meng Ze's insistence, at least dozens more biochemical soldiers died. Meng Ze eventually had to give up the incapacitated soldiers and continue to fight and retreat. Fortunately, 10 minutes later, Meng Ze's 2 support units arrived in time. The crossfire of the lancer unit suddenly increased, and it quickly knocked the jumping swarm back. As the support force grew, Meng Ze's troops formed a sector line of fire for nearly a kilometer and advanced little by little under Meng Ze's command. When the base forces finally arrived, Meng Ze was completely relieved. The troops pushed all the way to the initial delivery point, and a huge hole appeared in Meng Ze's field of vision. This is the ruins. Looking at the dark cave entrance, Meng Ze did not choose to attack at the first time, but just stationed his troops at the exit of the ruins, and annihilated all the jumping insects that rushed out of the ruins. At the base, a team of engineers, escorted by lancers, was transferred by Meng Ze to the mouth of the ruins cave. When the engineers arrived, Meng Ze immediately arranged for the engineers to build a fortress near the mouth of the cave, and an anti-aircraft missile launch pad. In the StarCraft's simulation world, the anti-aircraft missile launch pad has a powerful function, anti-stealth. This feature is described in the building's description, but until now, Meng Ze has never encountered a stealth class, even for the first time. Just in case, though, because he didn't know what was in the ruins, Meng Ze thought it was better to be more careful. When the fort was built and the biochemical soldiers were stationed, Meng Ze finally breathed a sigh of relief. Subsequently, Meng Ze sent several small units to scout around the ruins. When the troops had completed their exploration of a radius of more than 10 kilometers and found no other enemies or players, Meng Ze's gaze at the ruins finally became hot. In the mouth of the dog's head bun, Meng Ze doesn't know how many times he has heard about the ruins. Even in the interstellar world, where players have countless players, ruins are extremely rare. Once a relic is discovered and made public, it often leads to fierce scramble. But Meng Ze found this ruin, and no one else knows about it except himself. Meng Ze divided the troops and formed hundreds of exploration teams of biochemical lancers, spiders, and medics according to the ratio of 8-to-1, each squad of 110 people. As the first squad gradually submerged into the entrance of the ruins, the view in the ruins gradually opened on the large screen in the command center, **. When Meng Ze switched his vision to the inside of the ruins, the name of the ruins was revealed, Z301 Underground Research Institute. The first squad of biochemical soldiers sent by Meng Ze was both Pathfinder and Decoy. The team walked about 400 or 500 meters forward, and a huge metal door about 11 or 12 meters high and about 10 meters wide appeared in Meng Ze's eyes. The metal door was rusty, and a large hole with a diameter of 5 or 6 meters was broken through the door, and the edges of the hole were uneven, as if it had been corroded by something. Seeing this scene, Meng Ze temporarily stopped the squad's action, mobilized the rear troops and engineers to start to follow. It was only when the rear troops reached the gate that Meng Ze commanded the first advance party into the gate. Not far into the gate, Meng Ze's squad of biochemical soldiers was attacked by a massive jumping bug. Meng Ze commanded the troops and fought, and retreated, and when they got out of the metal gate, the fire of the other troops began to support. Compared to the huge scale of jumping insects, the opening of this metal door is too small to be used. The scene suddenly became a meat grinder. The behavior of the jumping insects is quite ferocious, and when the corpses of the same race block their path, these jumping insects will chop the corpses of the same tribe into pieces, shake them away with their mouths, or even swallow them. The fire at the entrance of the cave lasted for more than 10 minutes, until the entrance of the cave was completely blocked by the corpse of the jumping worm. Seeing this, Meng Ze adjusted his position, moved the Spitfire in front and the Lancer back, relying on the flames of the Spitfire to burn all the bodies of the jumping insects into flying ash. Seeing the passage appear, the jumping insects scrambled to squeeze towards the entrance of the cave. The slaughter of the metal door lasted for more than 5 hours, and when no more jumpers came out, the ground around the entire metal door turned into glass, and the large hole with a diameter of 5 or 6 meters on the original metal door disappeared again, and the bottom of the entire gate was evaporated by the flames. When the flames on the ground were extinguished, and the temperature was slightly lower, Meng Ze's replacement force moved forward to explore the way. The follow-up team also stepped into the metal door one after another. The passage behind the metal gate is short, and after 100 or 200 meters is a huge square. Broken metal objects can be found everywhere, and those are the remains of buildings. But what makes Meng Ze feel different is that the floor of the square is covered with a thick blanket that looks like meat. Meng Ze inquired and learned that this kind of thing is called a mushroom blanket, which is the main source of nutrition for the Zerg, something that is expanded by the Zerg mother nest. No wonder there are so many jumping insects here. It seems that there is a Zerg mother nest here, but the troops that appear are all jumping insects. It seems that this mother nest is not of high level. I should be able to deal with it. With this in mind, Meng Ze immediately added the construction of 2 biochemical arsenals on the base side. The 3 arsenals that have been built are in full swing to produce biochemical soldiers, of which biochemical riflemen and Spitfiremen account for half each. Half of the troops entering the metal gate were scattered by Meng Ze to search. The other half quickly occupied the area near the passage and held the back road. while the engineers quickly built the fortress and missile launch pad. On the first sortie, Meng Ze's strategy was to fight steadily, step by step. This underground institute is very large, with passages on all sides, and it is divided into several floors. When Meng Ze's search forces entered these areas, they were almost enemies on all sides, and there were so many images of firefighting that Meng Ze could not control. And Meng Ze found that the jumping insects inside the institute were significantly smarter than those outside, as if someone was directing. Although the tactics are still simple, at least know how to hide and raid. The prompt message on the right side of the big screen brushed like rain, and Meng Ze didn't have time to look at it. This kind of underground passage engagement can only rely on the fighters themselves, and Meng Ze cannot intervene. He could only keep an eye on the number of soldiers he had entered the passage, and as if adding oil, he filled it in one team after another. It wasn't until 4 hours later that one of Meng Ze's search teams finally found the Zerg brood. As the brood location was sent back, a large number of squads were sent over by Meng Ze. When the brood was destroyed, all the jumping insects went crazy, all rushed out of their hideouts, and were finally strangled by Meng Ze's troops. Afterwards, Meng Ze counted the death figures, and the loss of the biochemical lancers was as high as more than 1,500, and the death units of the Spitfires were as high as 3,000, which seemed to be specially taken care of by the jumping insects. As for the number of jumping insects, although Meng Ze could not accurately count, most of the elimination numbers were still transmitted back by frontline soldiers. According to statistics, there are more than 60,000 jumping insects in the institute, nearly half of which were eliminated at the metal doorway. Meng Ze is thankful for his prudence, and if he hadn't eliminated a huge number of jumping insects beforehand, the situation would have been much worse now. After all the Zerg were destroyed, the combat units were converted to search teams on the spot. However, since seeing the Zerg mushroom carpet, Meng Ze has not had much hope for the harvest in the ruins. The Zerg's blanket is an item that can dissolve and absorb absolute parts, and even metal materials can be dissolved and turned into materials that breed Zerg, not to mention others. Since this Zerg mother nest can develop nearly 100,000 jumping insects in the Research Institute, it is estimated that everything that can be used in it has been absorbed by it. The truth was not beyond Meng Ze's expectations, and the vast majority of the search team returned empty-handed. But Meng Ze isn't without gains. A search team used a detector to find a deeply hidden metal box, and when opened, it found a sealed test tube containing something unknown material. Another team found a hidden chip at the top of the nest location. Other than these two potentially valuable things, Meng Ze found nothing else. MD, it seems to be a big loss. This time, coupled with the battle damage outside the ruins, the reduction of nearly 6,000 units. In exchange for these two things, Meng Ze's heart is dripping blood. Now I can only hope that the value of these two things is high enough. Otherwise this wave of blood loss. At this moment, Meng Ze suddenly thought of a question. These sent troops can no longer return to the base. So what about this harvest? Yes. Is it really that you have to lose your bottoms this time? Thinking of this, Meng Ze was a little impatient, directing the troops along the invisible wall to search, hoping to find possible gaps. But after hours of bussiness, in the end everything was in vain. Although not exhausted, the shape of the wall appears to be a hemispherical cover, not to mention that there was no gap in the ground part at all. Meng Ze arranged for the engineers to dig down a few tens of meters, and found no place to enter. I just don't know if there is space in the sky. If there is none, it is really desperate. Meng Ze thought in his heart that if the harvested items could not be sent to the base, then unless he stepped out of the wall himself, the tempting special items mentioned by the dog head bun would not be able to reach him. Because the troops could not return, Meng Ze had to think about the stationing first. While arranging a squad of about 100 people to explore the way in all directions, he first gathered the troops. Although the Zerg in the ruins were wiped out in the first battle just now, Meng Ze does not think that he is powerful now. After all, you can often be influenced by the big guys, and other people's manual immobility is the technology of the 3rd and 4th levels, and the battleships are flying all over the sky. Meng Ze's first consideration was to hide the troops, and wait until the Pathfinder team had a clear understanding of the surrounding situation. At this point, the Underground Research Institute, where the ruins were originally located, is a good place. Meng Ze stationed thousands of troops in the Research Institute, and arranged for engineers to build supply stations. Although Interstellar is a game world, it is not completely virtual. With the wall, the survival of these forces will be a big problem if supply depots are not built outside. There is a special place in the interstellar world of supply transmission after the construction of each type of building is completed. Whether it is supply or manufacturing troops, The resources required do not need to be carried by personnel, but rely on the dimensional transmission of the command center to directly transmit crystal or resources to the buildings that apply for demand. Meng Ze had built buildings in the field before, and the command center operated in a way that the wall could not stop. In the Underground Research Institute, a large number of supply stations were built, and the entrance was also covered with fortresses. If someone wants to break through hard, presumably these facilities are enough for the enemy to drink a pot. After arranging things, Meng Ze relaxed his spirit, looked at the real-world time, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, he withdrew from the interstellar world to make up for a sleep. By the time Meng Ze woke up, it was almost noon. Having lunch at the hotel, Meng Ze was a little hesitant. The events of last night reminded him that Meng Ze had thought too simply before. There was no fixed and safe place, and it was too inconvenient for him to enter and exit the interstellar world. If you return to your hometown now, you will naturally stay at home for a few more days, with the situation at Meng Ze's house, in case his parents find something abnormal. He really doesn't know how to explain it, and he can't tell his parents that your son is now an interstellar commander of the game world. After thinking about it, Meng Ze suddenly had an idea, or go to Taiyuan, whether it is really to meet the occasional small hesitation. But this is a reason after all. Sometimes Meng Ze actually wants to know what the occasional small hesitation looks like. So many people on the internet who see the light die, Meng Ze thought to himself, even if the occasional little melancholy looks ugly, at most it will be half dead to see the light, and it is not impossible to be a boyfriend and girlfriend, and it is not impossible to be an ordinary friend. With a destination, Meng Ze bought the high-speed rail again for the day. Meng Ze's exploration team in the interstellar world has explored as far as 100 kilometers, and the nearest one is more than 60 kilometers. 100 kilometers is almost the endurance limit of the current Meng Ze troops. Beyond this distance, the endurance of the troops will not keep up, and it is likely that there will be no return. However, Meng Ze was greatly relieved that there was no threat, at least within the limit distance of his exploration. Before setting off, Meng Ze increased the number of engineering research institutes to 5 in one breath, and then started research on the 4 technologies of defensive buildings: building armor, and individual power, and then looked at the progress of individual weapons, and set the command to complete the research automatically. After doing this, Meng Ze did not do any more unnecessary movements. This time to Taiyuan, if possible. Meng Ze thought that he could live temporarily for a while, and maybe even buy a house there to settle down. So for the next period of time, if it was not necessary, Meng Ze would keep the crystal ore and exchange it for cash. While on the high-speed train, Meng Ze received a message from Chi Mei again. Meng Ze still has a good impression of Chi Mei, but unfortunately, his current situation is not suitable for more ideas for the time being. It is only a 2 or 3 hour drive from Wuhan to Taiyuan. As soon as Meng Ze settled in the hotel, he took a taxi to the agency. "Brother, if you have any needs, you can tell me what kind of housing we have for easy living." Brother Wang, the intermediary of Yu, said enthusiastically, "I don't have a local hukou. Do I want to buy a house here?" Meng Ze asked. Now many places in the country, especially big cities, are engaged in purchase restrictions. Although Taiyuan is not a first-tier and second-tier city, but it is also a third-tier upward. Meng Ze checked Taiwan's purchase restriction information on the internet, but did not find it for the time being. "Brother, it's really appropriate for you to buy a house now. We have news. Taiyuan is now brewing to introduce a purchase restriction policy. I don't know what day it will be, but brother, you will definitely not lose if you buy now." "Oh, that's fine." Meng Ze breathed a sigh of relief. Hearing Meng Ze's tone, Brother Wang was overjoyed. This look is really buying a house. So this, brother, is more cordial. "Brother, first of all, what requirements you have, I will recommend it to you." The younger brother surnamed Wang said, "There are not too many requirements. A 3-bedroom house, the kind of more than 100 square meters, the best decoration, can be screwed to move in." Meng Ze said the conditions that had been thought of for a long time. "Brother, do you have any requirements for the price?" Brother Wang asked. "What is the current situation of housing prices in Taiyuan?" Brother Wang was stunned for a moment, and this brother came to buy a house without even knowing the current market, but then reacted. The customer's situation does not matter. He only needs to do a good job of service to sell the house. "Brother, what about the house prices in Taiyuan now?" "The subregion, about in the range of 8 or 9,000 to 10,023. The price of new houses, hardcover houses, and second-hand houses is not too much. Generally speaking, the price is higher, the location is better, the environment is better. You see." Meng Ze estimated in his heart that if he didn't consume anything in the crystal mine these days, he would basically have an income of 216,000 yuan per day. Soon, the technology of individual weapons will be upgraded to level 1, and the mining efficiency will be increased by 10%, which is an income of 237,600 yuan per day. To be conservative, calculated as 200,000 a day, there will be an income of 1.2 million in 6 days, according to the house price reported by the other party. Even if there is a little discrepancy in the final purchase, it is also a matter of saving one more day and one less day. After thinking about it, Meng Ze had no worries and said to the intermediary brother Wang, there should be no problem in the price. Please find a house with a good environment and more convenience, take me to see it first. Brother Wang did things very neatly, quickly selected 5 community listings, and said to Meng Ze, brother, these 5 communities meet your requirements. The Jingyuan community environment is the best, but it is a little far from the city center, and the other 4 communities are within the 3rd ring road. Do you think you want to be eliminated? Since I said that I asked you to add it all, there must be something extraordinary. So let's take a look together. Meng Ze said, thank you brother for your trust. You will definitely not disappoint your brother. Brother Wang is obviously happy with the customer's recognition of him. For the next 2 whole days, Meng Ze was looking at the property with the agent brother Wang. Although Meng Ze believes that he will inevitably have other houses in the future, and he may not be able to live in Taiyuan for a long time, this is Meng Ze's first time buying a house, and his caution and excitement are also mixed with inexplicable mixed emotions. As a renter, although Meng Ze's transportation was relatively good and he met a landlord, who was easier to communicate with, he did not hear less about the disgusting landlord at the same time. Rent increases and checkout deductions for deposits are routine operations, and some outrageous, in order to make more money to install fast electricity and water meters for tenants. This is very pitted. Meng Ze's colleague had an unlucky egg, living alone, with no computer and lighting, no air conditioning, and more than 500 electricity bills a month. Later, he asked the person who supplied the electricity to check it, and the person from the Power Supply Bureau said that the meter in his house was not installed by the Power Supply Bureau. Hearing about these experiences, Meng Ze is undoubtedly looking forward to his own house. The intermediary brother Wang is very reliable and patient, although he only recommends 5 communities, but each community provides more than 2 listings, different locations and different floors, convenient for Meng Ze to choose. Meng Ze was very satisfied with brother Wang's professionalism, and the two looked at it and finally chose Jingyuan community. The intermediary brother Wang understands Meng Ze's ideas very thoroughly, and the Jingyuan community is not only large in area, but also very good in internal greening. Gardens, greenways, small squares, public pools, restaurants, KTV, and even a community reading room. Not to mention that these Meng Ze are not used, but they also look high-end and atmospheric. The only drawback is that the community is far from the school district, and there are only kindergartens in and around the community, and there is still a relative distance between primary and secondary schools. That's not a problem for Meng Ze, though, of course, the neighborhood is very good, and the price is certainly more touching. As a relatively high-end community in Taiyuan, the average house price of Jingyuan is 14,000, and Meng Ze chose a 22-story high-rise, and the price reached more than 16,000. In addition, the high-rise of Jingyuan has 3 housing specifications: small 120 square meters, 3 bedrooms, 1 living room, 1 kitchen and 1 bathroom; large apartment type 180 square meters, 5 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, 1 kitchen and 5 bathrooms; and finally duplex, nearly 300 square meters on 2 floors. Compared to the single-family type, the unit price of the duplex is slightly lower, and the total price is 50% higher than that of the large apartment. After Meng Ze looked at 3 types of apartments, his original plan to buy only 120 square meters was shattered. Isn't it just a matter of holding on for a few more days, for the sake of the big house? Meng Ze decided to endure. However, Meng Ze took a little control, and gave up the idea of choosing a duplex. Meng Ze's favorite house is a hardcover second-hand house, and according to brother Wang, the landlord of this house has not lived in it after decorating the house. According to Meng Ze's observations, there is indeed no trace of living in, at least the kitchens are brand new. The protective film of the range hood has not been removed, and I don't know what the original owner wanted to sell the house for. However, the other party is certainly not at a loss. According to the time when the community was built, even if the other party discounted the renovation cost, Meng Ze estimated that there would be at least 30% of the profit. Because the owner is not in the local area, he needs to make another time to trade, which is also in line with Meng Ze's idea, and he can't get that much money to trade right away. After paying a deposit of 100,000 yuan, and signing the intention contract at the intermediary, Meng Ze was slightly excited. Finally got his own house. but Meng Ze didn't know who to share his feelings with. Do you want to contact the occasional hesitation? After hesitating for a while, Meng Ze finally sent a message to this wife who had never met before. It's like someone saying that you never know if it's a dog that's chatting to you across the network. Meng Ze also doesn't think about who his wife on the internet is. Taiyuan number 7 senior high school, second and third classes of high school. Luowei, you actually brought your mobile phone to class again. Hurry up and show me the information just now, otherwise I will make a small report with the teacher. Luowei's table-mate and best friend Zhang Lingling said threateningly while trying to reach out to grab the mobile phone. The girl named Luowei struggled to resist for a while, but in the end, she couldn't resist her girlfriend's gossip psychology, and had to hand over the phone. Fortunately, there is nothing out of the ordinary about the information on the mobile phone, and Luowei is not too worried. After reading the information on her mobile phone, Zhang Lingling did not feel disappointed although she only had the words, "I am in Taiyuan." Instead, he looked at his girlfriend with a mocking face, and quietly said beside her, "Oh, the little two are preparing to appear." "Say what?" Luowei pushed the same table, and said tangledly, "I'm bothered now, I don't even know whether to go to see him." Ha ha. I wondered what Xiaobei's expression would have, when he found out that his hesitant wife, in her 20s had become a 17-year-old high school student. Zhang Lingling knows all about Luowei, playing online games to find her husband. She also has a game herself, and she has also found a husband, but it is not the same as Luowei. Young girls want to fall in love and are afraid of the pressure of really falling in love. The ethereal network provides a way. Anyway, it is true or not true, except for the parties, no one knows. Don't laugh, he really came. You say I can't go. Luowei hopes that her girlfriend will give her an idea. Zhang Lingling looked at Luowei with a serious look, and she was a little surprised when she was very familiar with her girlfriend. You won't take it seriously. You must know that there are many scammers on the internet now, and there are more money scammers. Although Zhang Lingling is also engaged in online dating, she looks much more rational than Luowei. She knows her girlfriend, although Luowei now looks like she is tangled, but the more she does this, the more it means she cares. Looking at her girlfriend's beautiful face that even a beautiful girl like her envied, and the bumpy and perfect figure that the young girl couldn't even completely cover with her school uniform, Zhang Lingling felt that it was not a good idea to meet a netizen rashly. Hearing her girlfriend's words, Luowei became even more entangled. He really came from more than 1,000 kilometers away. If he can't see it, it's not very bad. Hearing her best friend say this, Zhang Lingling felt that the other party had made up her mind, and as soon as her little brain turned, she had an idea. Otherwise, I'll go with you, but then I will be occasionally a little melancholy. You are just an occasional little melancholy, understand? Luowei feels that her girlfriend's idea is good. Anyway, it is good to meet it, and she also wants to know, what kind of person is the husband, who is sometimes gentle and considerate, sometimes domineering and extraordinary on the internet. As a student, I am naturally not available, so I set the time for weekends. At the same time, for safety, the two girls chose McKinley in the city center as the meeting place. Receiving the occasional melancholy reply, Meng Ze was both excited and expectant. Although the agreed time was 3 days later, Meng Ze rummaged through his clothes, and no matter how he looked at it, he couldn't find a suitable one, so he hurried to make a temporary purchase. The best clothes Meng Ze bought when he worked before were overbearing menswear, but this brand is more suitable for mature and successful people. Meng Ze talked about his work with the occasional melancholy when he was online, and designers wanted to be casual. At least that's what Meng Ze thought. He felt that if he dressed too maturely, it would not match his position as a designer. Not to mention, Meng Ze bought it according to this idea anyway, so a light gray sweatshirt and casual trousers suit became Meng Ze's new equipment. Not to mention, Meng Ze feels that after changing into this dress, his appearance has slightly increased by a point or two. In fact, Meng Ze did not find that in the past. He was depressed under the pressure of life, and the whole person had a gray feeling at first glance, which is a kind of temperament of people. But now, not only has infinite expectations for the future, but also, having experienced a battle that commanded tens of thousands of legions and seen several bloody and wars that are no different from the real thing, Meng Ze's body has a trace of strength and domineering that even he did not realize. The feeling to outsiders is that this person looks trustworthy, very responsible, very manly. Even if he is wearing casual clothes, he also looks a little different. For the next 2 days, Meng Ze didn't go anywhere and stayed at the hotel in the interstellar world. In addition to chatting with the dog-headed bun boss occasionally, Meng Ze met a new boss, Dreamstar Nightglow. Although Meng Ze did not prepare a flower crystal mine in the past 2 days, it did not prevent him from visiting the market in advance. There are many kinds of free markets, but Meng Ze really hasn't looked at them before. It just happened that after these 2 days of idleness, I took the time to look at it, especially the special items that the dog-headed bun boss said. It turned out that the prices of the items inside were all sky high, crystal or measured in hundreds of millions. After consulting the dog-headed bun boss, I learned that it is not that things are really so expensive, but these things, there is no clear price in the market, and the upper and lower limits of trading are very large, usually barter or one-on-one prices. Of course, even so, these items are not less than 50 million. Chip-type items cannot distinguish specific types without actual hands. However, Meng Ze found a sealed test tube that was very similar to his harvest in the ruins, the gene enhancement reagent, rare grade. According to the above instructions, the role of strengthening genetic reagents is to comprehensively strengthen all aspects of the commander's qualities, such as enhancing physical fitness, developing brain domains, and abnormal state resistance, such as toxins, microorganisms, etc. Simply put, it is a full attribute and full status increase, which is very perverted. Not only that, but also adds a commander bonus. Depending on the regent level, the increase in all attributes and states is different, and the increased commander bonus is also different. Most importantly, this regent can be reused to a limited extent. Therefore, this regent is extremely rare on the market, and there are only 2 in the whole market, one of which is still ordinary. And even if it is an ordinary grade, the seller has reserved a sentence. The opening price is less than 200 million crystal mines. When he found this thing, Meng Ze's heart suddenly became hot and almost boiled. The specific effect of the commander bonus is unknown, but the reinforcement of the commander itself is real, you know. According to the dog-headed bun, the reinforcement of the commander himself can be brought to the real world, although I don't know how much it can be strengthened, and I don't know that the potion I harvested is really not sure that it is a strengthening gene regent. It does not affect Meng Ze's expectations. If it weren't for his sanity, Meng Ze would almost want to run out of the wall and get his hands on something. But fortunately, Meng Ze is still clear that he is an illegal user. In case the wall is the protection of the system, it is not a self-defeating way to go out. To divert his attention, Meng Ze forced himself to switch to the drawing market. So, when I bought the forged drawings, to be precise, made an appointment to buy the forged drawings, I got to know the big guy Dream Star Night Glow. The forge is also a weighing factory. It is a very important building in the StarCraft simulation world. Tanks, armored vehicles, and the mech that Meng Ze piloted when he first entered the world are all products made by the forge. And with the upgrading of the forge, the level of items that can be made will become higher and higher, and the variety will become richer and richer. The war-level siege fortress that Meng Ze had just heard about in the interstellar world was a regular product after the forge upgraded its 3rd-level technology. The big guy of Dream Star Night Glow gave Meng Ze the feeling of being cold outside and hot inside, and he seemed relatively cold when he first chatted, but when he knew that Meng Ze was a newcomer, he was a lot more enthusiastic, and even agreed to the condition of appointment procurement. You must know that the forge is not a supply station, and Meng Ze has been mixed in the interstellar world for so many days, and it is not completely white. Forges, especially mysterious forges, are also hot sellers in the interstellar world. Silently recognizing the favor of the Dream Star Night Glowing boss in his heart, Meng Ze continued to browse the market to search for the drawings of the airport. However, there is no next time for such a good thing as appointment procurement. The attitude of the vast majority of players is the same. There is a mind to talk about, make an appointment and get out. The market can't mix. Meng Ze paid attention to the content of various communication channels for a while, and learned about the movements of the interstellar world. The buying and selling of various items is just as hot, but Meng Ze, who already has some experience, has discovered it. What is bought and sold by shouting on the communication channels of the world or war zone is either something that no one sells on the market, or the price is particularly different from the market. In addition, there are various movements in the communication channel, and most of the people who start the scolding war are individuals, and there are also alliance announcements between alliances, dispute declarations, and so on. Meng Ze also unexpectedly saw several messages about the God of War Alliance and the Vertical City Alliance. The dispute over the ownership of the Super Bonanza finally came to an end, and the 2 alliances had played a dog brain for this before, and in the end, the God of War Alliance was slightly superior. The 2 alliances finally agreed that the God of War Alliance would bid 10 million crystal ore, and buy half of the property rights of this mine. This price is simply the floor within the floor, saying that the basement price is modest, and the hell price is about the same, which barely saves some face for the vertical and horizontal city. Meng Ze simply calculated 5,000 per hour, game world time 240 hours a day. If a pile of mines can be fully mined, a day is a profit of 1.2 million, let alone 20 piles. Meng Ze's own level of technology is far from full, but the big guys are not necessarily. This one super bonanza can reach 24 million in a day. Forcibly snatched half of it from the mouth of the vertical and horizontal city with 10 million crystal mines, and the 2 words, earned in blood. The city must be a belly of fire, Meng Ze thought to himself. Asterisk. I searched the war zone channel, and sure enough, I found a message about a slingshot that was chasing and killing planes. Zhuang Ding is also a soldier. The whole theater chases and kills the slingshot of the plane, and every time I kill the slingshot of the plane, I will give out 50 million crystal or resources or corresponding cash, and this notice will remain in effect until it withdraws from the 117 theater. Although the announcement was issued by Zhuangding and soldiers, in Meng Ze's opinion, it must be the decision of the alliance of vertical and horizontal city. However, it is difficult to say how much effect it can have. Anyway, Meng Ze feels that if anyone wants to kill him for these 50 million crystal mines, he will definitely lose his blood. Even he, a vegetable who has been in the game for a few days, is so difficult to kill, let alone a big guy who can prospect everywhere. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye came the weekend. Although the appointment time was 9 o'clock in the morning, Meng Ze got up early, brushed his teeth, washed his face, shaved, and trimmed his nose hair. Meng Ze carefully took care of himself with the most serious attitude ever. The other side. Hey, good girl, did the sun come out in the west today? Lua Wei's mother looked at her daughter, who got up before 7 o'clock in surprise. Usually on any weekend she didn't have to call twice, 3 times, 4 or 5 times. Mom, what? Today Ling Ling and I made an appointment to go out shopping. Of course, we have to get up early, Lua Weijiao said with disgust. In the past, you went out with Ling Ling, and I never saw you get up so early. Mother Lua heard her daughter's words and asked rhetorically. Hearing her mother's words, Lua Wei didn't know what to say for a while, so she simply didn't answer, and muttered pretendedly, I have to say it early when I get up, it's true. Okay, I won't ask. Pay attention to safety outside. Mother Lua didn't care, just advised. With such a beautiful daughter, the more Mother Lua broke her heart, for fear that she would be hurt outside. Don't worry, Mom. What about my dad? Your dad worked overtime until the wee hours of the morning last night. Let him sleep more, don't wake him up. Hearing Lua Wei's question, Lua's mother remembered her husband, who was still sleeping, and hurriedly said, Lua Wei's father Lua Xiang is an electronic engineer. Although the income is good, but usually very busy at work, overtime is a common thing. When Lua Wei heard her mother say this, she couldn't help but lower her tone. Although she gets up early, it takes too much time for girls to dress up, even if they are naturally beautiful and do not need to wear much makeup, but choosing a dress can take a few hours. Under Zhang Lingling's repeated urging, Lua Wei, who hurried to catch up, finally stepped out of the house at almost 9 o'clock. Zhang Lingling's home is in the neighboring community, and after the two met at the intersection, Zhang Lingling complained to Lua Wei, You said it's you who want to go, it's you who grind, and you're ready to be late for the first meeting. Okay, don't say it, it's already fast, let's go quickly, Lua Wei urged. Although it is said that Zhang Lingling came earlier, girls of this age have also reached the age of loving beauty. Zhang Lingling's dress seems to be very simple, a beige suspender skirt suit, plus a sun hat, but she looks young and beautiful. Lua Wei chose a white collar midi skirt, with white stockings and simple headscarf accessories, looking very ladylike. Because he was not familiar with Taiyuan, Meng Ze, who was afraid of being late, called a car and rushed to the meeting place early. I chose a more spacious corner and waited patiently. After waiting for almost an hour, and the other party had not yet arrived, Meng Ze looked at the time, which was 15 minutes beyond the agreed time. Could it be that the appointment is not made? Meng Ze was a little worried. After all, there are too many things that netizens meet to see the light death, and it is understandable that the other party has concerns, and dare not come. However, Meng Ze seems that even if the other party looks very average, or the other party can't look at him, it doesn't really matter. It's a big deal to forget about the rivers and lakes. After another 10 minutes or so, Mackenzie's door was pushed open again. Coming in were 2 beautiful girls, although they were eye-catching, but they did not match Meng Ze's goals. Meng Ze looked at it twice, lowered his head again, and continued to wait. Lua Wei and Zhang Lingling, who came and noticed Meng Ze at a glance. Without him, the whole Mackenzie is now a young single man. Zhang Lingling touched Lua Wei with her arm and whispered, It should be him, it seems to be okay. Lua Wei secretly looked at it, with his eyes for a while, nodded and said, It doesn't look like a bad person. Zhang Lingling is absolutely defeated, and there is no one in the brain circuit of her best friend. Then let's go over, Zhang Lingling said. Hearing her girlfriend's words, when it came to the end, Lua Wei was embarrassed again. After grinding for a while, 2 or 3 minutes, I haven't moved a step. When she saw Meng Ze raise her head and look at them again, Zhang Lingling was ruthless, dragged Lua Wei and walked over directly. Are you a single player white? Zhang Lingling said directly. Meng Ze was stunned for a moment, hurriedly stood up, and said in surprise, occasionally hesitate. Meng Ze didn't expect his netizens to look so tender-faced, but since he was right, he hurriedly beckoned them to sit down. My name is Meng Ze. I'm sorry I didn't recognize you just now. I didn't expect you to be so young. You look like a 17 or 18-year-old girl, Meng Ze said apologetically. The girl looked at each other, with a smile in the corner of her eye. It's okay. My name is Zhang Lingling. This is my good friend Hua Wei. We came together. Don't you mind? Zhang Lingling said. Of course, there are many people. With that, Meng Ze called the waiter, and asked the two girls to order. The two casually ordered 2 dim sum and 2 small cups of milk tea, and Meng Ze added 2 fruit platters, and brought himself a cup of milk tea. The trio seemed rusty at first, and most of the time Meng Ze stirred up the conversation. However, as several people chatted more and more, the atmosphere gradually became familiar. It's just that Meng Ze has an illusion. He always feels that the occasional little melancholy companion looks at him, a little strangely, as if he is more familiar with him. Brother Xiaobai, why don't you continue to play the game? Zhang Lingling asked. In the name of occasional hesitation, chatting with Meng Ze naturally continued the title in the game, but it was naturally impossible to call husband. So the title of Little White Brother came up. I changed my career. I don't want to be a designer anymore. I have worked for 3 years, and I have no future, Meng Ze said half-truthfully. Then what did Brother Bai do instead? Change careers to become a general, Meng Ze said in his heart. The commander of the interstellar world is also a general, and there are tens of thousands of people under him now. Seeing the girl on the other side pouting, she looked disbelieving. I haven't decided yet, but I have some savings, so I'm not in a hurry for the time being, asterisk. Hearing Meng Ze say this, Zhang Lingling felt that this should be the truth. At this moment, Hua Wei, a girl who rarely spoke on the side, suddenly asked, then how long are you going to stay in Taiyuan? Although it is a bit abrupt, Meng Ze said honestly, I should spend a lot of time in Taiyuan. Maybe it is possible to make a home here. Hearing Meng Ze's words, Hua Wei's heartbeat suddenly accelerated, and her face and neck turned red. Is he for me? It must be for me. Sensing Meng Ze's strange eyes, Zhang Lingling noticed her girlfriend's reaction, and immediately asked suspiciously, is Brother Xiaobai so rich? Zhang Ku decided to settle down in Taiyuan. You should be in Taiwan for the first time, right? For what Meng Ze just said, Zhang Lingling did not believe it at all, and even thought that Meng Ze was really a big liar. Come to meet a netizen once, tell the other party to settle down here, not what a scammer is. Maybe it is because he looks at his beauty, so he made up a lie temporarily. At this moment, Zhang Lingling incarnates as a messenger of justice, occasionally hesitates. Zhang, ready to expose Meng Ze's lies and save her best friend. Hearing her girlfriend's words, Hua Wei was also shocked in her heart. She knew that Meng Ze had only graduated for 3 years, so how could she casually say the words of Taiyuan Anjia? Meng Ze could naturally hear the thorns in Zhang Lingling's language, but he also cared. His own words just now can, indeed, give people a relatively large space for imagination, and it is also appropriate for the other party to feel that he is insincere. But anyway, he is telling the truth. Meng Ze is not afraid of Zhang Lingling's questioning. It's my first time in Taiyuan, but I've been here for more than a week. Deciding to live temporarily in Taiyuan is not a temporary idea. Before I met Lingling, I was actually optimistic about the house and paid the deposit. Hearing Meng Ze's straightforward statement, the two women had different feelings. Hua Wei's heart was pleasantly surprised, and Zhang Lingling was shocked and dubious. But this kind of thing is easy to verify. Where is Brother Bai going to buy the house? Zhang Lingling's tone softened a little. Hearing her girlfriend's question, Hua Wei's little ears moved. In the Jingyuan community, outside the Third Ring Road. Oh, the house price there is also more than 1 million. As a student, Zhang Lingling is naturally indifferent to the housing market, and occasionally hears adults talking about housing prices, so she asked in passing. It's almost 3 million. I bought it a little bigger. Didn't you say you weren't rich? How can you suddenly afford such an expensive house? Hearing Meng Ze's words, Hua Wei blurted out. How wrong his tone sounded. Meng Ze and Zhang Lingling were stunned. Meng Ze looked at Hua Wei in surprise. From the beginning he felt that this girl was more familiar with him than Zhang Lingling was to him. Could it be that? Are you occasionally hesitant? Meng Ze said suddenly. No, it's not. It's me who sued. Zhang Lingling hurriedly remedied. It's me. I'm sorry. It's Lingling who is worried about me, that she asked her to pretend that I came to see you. Hua Wei interrupted her girlfriend's words and nodded directly in acknowledgement. Zhang Lingling slapped her forehead, and the trick of the two was actually exposed. It's okay. It's appropriate to be careful when you meet for the first time. Meng Ze didn't care, and then explained. There were some difficulties before, but recently there are new sources of money, so the hands are looser. The matter of buying a house in the Jingyuan community has been decided, and after the closing, if it is convenient, I hope to invite you to come over and celebrate together. Seeing what Zhang Lingling wanted to say, Meng Ze continued, you can bring more friends at that time. I am not familiar with life here, and more people are more lively. We don't usually have much time. Zhang Lingling hurriedly said that weekend, so the matter was settled. After eating something at Mechanime at noon, and then Hua Wei and Zhang Lingling were going shopping, Meng Ze felt that it was not good to walk too close all of a sudden, and he needed to give others a little time to adapt, so he said goodbye to the two. After Meng Ze left, Zhang Lingling asked, why, what do you think of him? Hua Wei hesitated for a moment and said, it feels okay, my personality is very good, and it's not ugly. Seeing Hua Wei's look of trying to communicate, Zhang Lingling couldn't help but say, I said, you are only a second year of high school now, don't really think of yourself as a young lady with a tender face. When her girlfriend said this, Hua Wei reacted, her face turned red, as if she had chatted for so long, and she really forgot her identity as a student. As a result, the girl's mind became more complicated. On the other hand, on the way back to the hotel, Meng Ze received a call from the intermediary brother Wang, informing him that the owner of the Jingyuan community would return to Taiyuan in 3 days. It was earlier than Meng Ze expected, and Meng Ze took a look at his current savings, which were just over 1.2 million. Even after 3 days, it was only more than 1.8 million, which was far from enough. However, Meng Ze does not plan to postpone the time, and will consider it when the time comes. 3 days later, Meng Ze came to Yu at the agreed time, and met the owner of the Jingyuan community, a middle-aged man in his 40s. Brother Wang beckoned the two to sit down, and after introducing each other, he said, Mr. Liu, Brother Meng, the conditions are the conditions negotiated before. I don't know if the two of you have any objections. If not, I will draw up the contract according to the previous terms. Mr. Liu, the owner of the house, had no objection to the conditions, but asked, I just want to know when I can get the money. Brother Wang listened to his question, and said, it depends on what method Meng Ze chooses to pay, if the loan is made. We house have cooperation with major banks. If you use CCB, the loan will be very fast, and the money will arrive in the account within 2 months, but I don't know what Meng Ze's opinion is. Seeing the two looking at him, Meng Ze said, I don't need a loan, but the funds are a little incompetent. I can pay 1.8 million first, and pay off the rest within a month. I don't know what Mr. Liu thinks. Mr. Liu thought about it, and felt that in this way he could get the money earlier, and the house was not like other items, he couldn't lose it. As long as there was a contract, he was not afraid that Meng Ze would not pay the rest, so he nodded and said, this way, it must be indicated on the contract. Both sides had no opinion, so Brother Wang went to prepare the contract. The contract is a standard contract, but the corresponding terms are added or subtracted, and it is very simple to prepare. But 20 minutes later, Brother Wang came over with the revised contract, signed, stamped, fingerprint, transferred to the housing authority. By noon, the whole process was finished. Refusing the intermediary Brother Wang's invitation to dinner, Meng Ze came to his new home alone with the house book and keys. Looking at this new house, which is several times larger than his original rent, Meng Ze is in a high mood. Since then, I have also been a person with a house, asterisk. Another weekend, Meng Ze invited Hua Wei out to play. Of course, Zhang Lingling naturally followed. However, Meng Ze and Hua Wei have known each other in the game for so long, and after getting acquainted, the two can naturally talk about more topics than Zhang Lingling. So a certain resentful girl, from time to time with resentment, said things such as the newcomer entering the cave room, the matchmaker throwing over the wall, etc., provoking the more shy Hua Wei to turn red from time to time. Because the final payment has not been paid, Meng Ze has not mentioned the celebration of the new house for the time being. However, because the last time we got along was quite good, and Meng Ze's personality was relatively gentle, although Zhang Lingling's vigilance against Meng Ze was still there, it was also much lower. This second meeting, the three of them had a better time, visited the park together, went to the playground, and watched a movie together, and the relationship progressed very quickly. 1 week after getting the housebook, Meng Ze's carry has once again accumulated to 2.2 million, and the reason why there is so much is because during this time, Meng Ze gradually raised the technology of individual weapons to the 5th level, and the mining efficiency increased by 50% compared to the beginning. Meng Ze now has access to 36 million crystal or resources per day. If Meng Ze hadn't spent some crystal or resources during this period, he would have received more funds. After paying the final payment of the house, Meng Ze sent a message to Hua Wei and Zhang Lingling, informing them that the purchase of the house had been completed, and that they could find a time to celebrate. For Meng Ze's invitation, Luo Wei and Zhang Lingling discussed it, and decided to agree. Since Meng Ze really bought a house, the trust of the two girls and him naturally skyrocketed, but after all, they had only known each other for a short time, and for safety reasons, the two girls could not go alone. The classmates in my class are not good at screaming. What if I accidentally show the stuffing? So after thinking about it for a while, Zhang Lingling decided to call her younger brother Zhang Hao, who was in high school, as long as she told him not to show his stuffing. Although Zhang Hao is only 16 years old, he is tall, and although his face is a little tender, he said that he is 20 years old and people believe him, and with him, he has a sense of security. After Meng Ze received a positive reply, he was very happy in his heart. Since he met Luo Wei, Meng Ze felt that Luo Wei was simply the one in his mind. High appearance, good figure, gentle personality, dressed lady, and at first glance have not been in love much, especially easy to be shy. Thinking that the two actually met from the internet and started an online relationship, Meng Ze felt that this was a godsend fate. But it was still early for the party, and Meng Ze returned to the interstellar world. After paying the final payment this time, Meng Ze still has nearly 1 million savings left. Although it is not comparable to the gods, who are on the internet who are left-handed Ferrari and right-handed Rolls-Royce, but they will not worry about money at all for a while and a half. Meng Ze's base in the interstellar world finally ushered in another big development in the next few days. Forged drawing. Meng Ze had bought it 2 days ago, and the Dreamstar Night Glowing Boss gave a preferential price, 10 million crystal ore, 12 million drawings for airfields, 15 million drawings for Ray Equipment Research Institutes, 12 million drawings for scientific stations. The Forge built 4 million, 2 airfields, 5 million. The Refurbishment Research Institute built 6 at a time, 12 million, 2 science stations, 5 million, counting the attached annexes, satellite stations attached to the command center, mechanical hangars attached to the forge, control towers attached to the airfield, physical laboratories and espionage research centers attached to the scientific station. Meng Ze's resources for more than 2 days have all become buildings. In addition, Meng Ze increased the number of biochemical arsenals to 6. At this point, although Meng Ze has not built a single soldier, the base he has increased a lot. Because there is only one command center, it is impossible to build a nuclear bomb well attached to the command center, and Meng Ze is missing a big killer. But with these buildings completed, Meng Ze has opened the way to upgrade the secondary command center. For the first time, Meng Ze had the command center's intelligence system comprehensively organize a list of information about his base. Judging from the list, Meng Ze's results since obtaining the StarCraft simulation world are quite good. Commander name, Meng Ze. Commander level, level 1. Commander bonus, none. Number of command centers, 1. Command center level, level 1, upgradable. Number of troops, 10,000 unmanned mining machines, 6,000 units of engineering troops, 45,000 units of biological and chemical riflemen, 18,000 units of fire throwers, 6,000 units of medical soldiers. Number of buildings, 130 supply stations, 6 biochemical arsenals, 5 engineering research institutes, 1 biochemical research institute, 2 forging plants, 2 airports, 6 heavy equipment research institutes, 83 missile launch pads, 35 fortresses, 2 scientific stations, 1 satellite station, annex building, 2 mechanical depots, annex building, 1 physics laboratory, annex building, 2 control towers, annex building, 1 spy research center, annex building. Science and technology level, building strength level 1, building armor level 1, individual armor level 1, individual power level 1, individual weapon level 5. Meng Ze did not read all the dozens of pages of the list sorted out by the system, but after inductively understanding the main situation of the base, he put the list away first. Upgrading the second level command center is actually not an upgrade, it can only be said to be unlocked, because the command center provided by the interstellar world uses 5-level technology, so all the way to the 5-level position, you only need to purchase the unlock key of the second level command center at a clear price. Although it is not clear why there is such a restriction, if the command center is not upgraded, when any other building technology develops to a certain level, it will be limited and cannot be improved, so upgrading the command center is very important. Meng Ze now all the basic buildings have reached the standard. As long as the resources are in place, the command center can be upgraded at any time, which he is not in a hurry, after all, until now. Because of the crazy infrastructure, Meng Ze a lot of technology is actually missing. According to Meng Ze's next plan, it is to make up these aspects. Before that, though, Meng Ze has one more pressing thing to do. Meng Ze switched his perspective to the airport, because all the buildings of Grade 1 technology have been built, and the air arms that the airport will be able to produce are displayed. These are the Ghost Fighter, the transport plane, the science ship and the Vagger fighter. Meng Ze swept his gaze and ruled out the science ship and Vagger options first. All the technology of the science spacecraft has not been upgraded, and it is now almost a waste and temporarily unusable. The Vagger is a weapon of air combat, which is good, but it does not match the needs of Meng Ze. The rest of the Ghost Fighters and transport aircraft are more suitable. The Ghost Fighter is fast and flexible, and the transport aircraft is not only slow to start, but also relatively flexible. Meng Ze took a closer look at the descriptions of both models. Category: Ghost Fighter. Level 1. Population 2 units. Life Force 200. Attack Power 10 against ground, 20 against air. Defense 0. Manufacturing Demand 200 units of crystal ore. Description: shooting at the ground with a pulsed laser cannon, and shooting at the air with Gemini missiles can be invisible. Category: Transport Aircraft. Level 1. Population 2 units. Life Force 300. Attack Damage 0. Defense 1. Manufacturing Demand 200 units of crystal ore. Description: produced with an additional control tower at the airport, no attack capability. For transport asterisk, having looked at the information on Ghost Fighters and transport aircraft, Meng Ze was not sure which was better, and simply arranged plans to produce 1,000 of each. The production rate of the mysterious airfield is 20,000 crystal or consumption per hour, and each airfield can produce 100 Ghost Fighters or transport aircraft per hour according to the single consumption of Ghost Fighters and transport aircraft. To complete the Meng Ze production plan, it would take 10 hours of interstellar world time. Fortunately, Meng Ze's next steps don't have to wait until the two planes are fully produced. When the first batch of 100 Ghost Fighters and 100 transport aircraft were produced, Meng Ze immediately sent some of them out to explore the high-altitude wall of the base. Although Meng Ze's order was to circumvent the wall when he found it, the wall was invisible and insubstantial, and from time to time, Ghost Fighters or transport planes flew out of the wall and could not fly in again. However, Meng Ze found that not being able to fly in is actually beneficial, and exploring from the outside is even more advantageous. As long as the speed of the fighter is controlled, and does not let it crash on the separation wall, then, there will naturally be a wall where it cannot be entered. The area covered by the wall was small, and Meng Ze sent dozens of planes to explore it at the same time, and it was soon discovered. According to the combined data, the shape of the entire wall has been depicted. The wall covers a radius of 12 kilometers with the command center as its center. The entire wall is hemispherical and encloses Meng Ze's base. At this point, Meng Ze showed a look of surprise. At the top of the hemispherical shape, a transport plane actually flew in. Meng Ze did not rush to close the plane, but carefully explored all the positions. It was finalized that only there was a notch at the top. After repeated tests, the size of this notch is a circle with a diameter of 200 meters. This gap is not big, and it is not small to say small. Let's talk about it. Meng Ze now produces transport planes, which are almost 50 meters long and 30 meters wide, and this opening allows transport aircraft of this size to enter and exit, and 3 or 4 at the same time have to worry about collisions. If there are larger arms in the future, this opening is obviously a problem. Let's say small. This opening can at least all the current arms can enter and exit, which is barely enough. After investigating the situation of this entrance, Meng Ze immediately sent a transport plane to the Underground Research Institute, where the special items he had thought about countless times are now stored. Under Meng Ze's expectant gaze, the transport aircraft gradually accelerated and quickly moved away from the base, while 100 Ghost Fighters also flew out from the base to participate in the escort to deal with the unwarranted enemy. The view of the command center has always followed this transport aircraft. Meng Ze's fears proved superfluous, and the transport plane received a biochemical warrior carrying unknown chips and reagents to return to base without a surprise. Meng Ze immediately asked the biochemical warrior to send the things over. When the regent actually arrived, Meng Ze felt like his heart was skipping a beat. Carefully holding it in his hand and observing, the appearance looked ordinary, and he couldn't distinguish any information at all. Without wasting too much time, Meng Ze then placed the unknown regent into the special item test port of the console. Seeing that the region is locked by the instrument, the transparent observation port can clearly see the action of the detector that can only be detected. When the detection beam emitter was aimed at the regent, Meng Ze felt a sense of loss and loss. Strengthening gene reagents. Strengthening gene reagents. Be sure to fortify the gene regent. The speed of detection is fast. A color-changing detection beam sweeps from top to bottom, and the test results of the mysterious regent are displayed on the large screen. The 6 words, enhanced gene region, at the moment made Meng Ze's heart, hanging in the air, instantly settle down. Meng Ze exhaled deeply and looked at the inspection information on the large screen. Category: intensive gene reagents. Level: mysterious level. Instructions for use: one-time use of single-serving enhancement gene reagent can strengthen the target person's genes by 50%, obtain a 50% increase in full attributes, a 50% increase in full resistance, and a 50% increase in full adaptability. At the same time, if the target person is a commander, the efficiency of all buildings under its jurisdiction is increased by 50%, and the consumption is reduced by 5%, the same level of the region. The effect is superimposed after multiple uses. Restrictions on use: this type of region is incompatible between grades. If the region of this grade is used, other grades of the region can no longer be used, otherwise it may cause gene collapse. The same grade of this region. The number of times of use is limited to 10 times. This is the upper limit of gene tolerance. Exceeding the limit of use, or causing gene collapse, please be cautious. After reading the information on the enhanced gene region, 2 thoughts immediately came to Meng Ze's mind. The first thought was that the mysterious level, enhanced gene region, was too effective, not only to strengthen the commander himself, but also to add bonuses to all the subordinate classes. Needless to say, the bonus to the commander himself, Meng Ze himself, can't wait, and the improvement of the efficiency of the base is also quite terrifying. Although Meng Ze's current class and total population are not large, even so, it will take a lot of time and the amount of crystal ore to replenish all population units. A 50% bonus to the mysterious level reduces production time by a third and saves millions of resources. In the future, when there are more and more types of troops, the population ceiling is getting higher and higher, and the consumption is getting bigger and bigger. The value of this bonus will be even more immeasurable. The second thought is that it is good that this thing cannot be used indefinitely. Otherwise, those strong people who came in early do not know how many advantages they will accumulate, which makes the later newcomers how to mix. Meng Ze took out the fortification gene region. At this time, after the illumination of the detection beam, the originally ordinary region has changed. The whole region seems to be activated, becoming brilliant and rippling in the test tube like water waves. Looking at the reagent in his hand, Meng Ze said in his heart, "This tube of reagents is so high grade, I don't know how the output is. If the probability is too low, maybe there will only be such a chance. If you have a problem, look for the big guy." After putting the reagents away, Meng Ze immediately sent a communication to the Bun Boss. "Bun Boss, there's business coming to the door." "Yes, yes. If brother Meng Ze needs anything, I'll give you a discount." Dog head Bun seconds back. "Big guy, do you want a mysterious level enhanced gene region? Are you playing with me? Have this thing I still leave to you?" The dog-headed Bun said speechlessly. "Just kidding, Bun Boss. I just visited the market and saw that the people selling enhanced gene reagents are sky high. Where does this thing come from? Is it much?" Meng Ze asked. "This thing is not much. Less is not too little. Generally in the ruins and adventure battlefields have output, sometimes even dozens of them. Of course, high-level ones are very rare. However, its output is too low for the players of the entire StarCraft simulation world," the dog-headed Bun replied. Meng Ze didn't expect to ask a question, and heard a word he hadn't heard from the dog's head Bun. "Big guy, what is the battlefield of adventure?" Meng Ze asked if he didn't understand. "A floating island generated by a void will produce all kinds of good things on it. Whether you can meet it depends on luck. But because the generation time is long, the competition is often very fierce, so it is called the battlefield of adventure. Don't count on you as a newcomer. The third-level players of the adventure battlefield used to be small minions." "Thank you, big guy, for your advice. By the way, what level of enhanced gene region do you use?" Meng Ze asked curiously. "Brother, this is privacy." The dog-headed Bun gave Meng Ze a look that you yourself understood. But before Meng Ze could apologize, the dog-headed Bun spoke again. "But it's you, brother. I won't say to others that I used 4 legendary strengthening gene reagents. Ha ha ha." Seeing the proud look of the dog's head Bun, "You originally planned to show off." Bun Boss, new by plus. Meng Ze hurriedly liked it. "What is Ox Pen Plus?" The system is not translated, and the dog-headed Bun obviously does not understand the language of the Earth's private network. Meng Ze told him that this was an indigenous language, which means very powerful, and the dog-headed Bun gladly accepted. "Brother, it's really right that you praise my Bull Pen Plus. The legendary strengthening gene regent is very difficult to do. You Bao brother and I have worked hard to get 4 among the surrounding peers, even if it is the number 1 person." The dog-headed Bun said, asterisk. Through the dog's head Buns, Meng Ze probably also knew the difficulty of obtaining the enhanced gene regent. and then decided to buy something casually and withdraw. The answer was asked, and the big guy threw it over the wall. Bun boss, do you have something to sell that enhances battery life? Meng Ze thought for a moment and asked. The dog-headed bun did not speak, as if to check the inventory. After a few seconds, the dog-headed bun said, yes, but you don't need it, brother. The lowest is second level. The second level ones can also be used, but the low level ones are too low. Meng Ze said, oh, see for yourself. The dog-head bun sent the chip information over, which is a new type of power package. Category: Concentrated Power Pack, Individual Soldier. Level: Mystery. Note: a device that uses fusion energy as the core power has an instantaneous power output of up to 30 CTS. Meng Ze knew every word in this message, but together he didn't know what he was talking about, and he couldn't judge whether this thing was good or not. And Meng Ze is not good to ask directly, in case the units in this are common sense, wouldn't it be revealed, so Meng Ze plans to knock on the side. But if you want to ask, you can't ask the dog-head bun. Meng Ze saw that his other big friend Dream Star Night Glow, so he temporarily blocked the communication with the dog-head bun, and turned around to send a communication connection to Dream Star Night Glow. Starry Night Boss, how about please help to see this thing? You don't need to. Why do you ask this? Dream Star Night Glow did not answer directly. Ready to buy a spare. Wait for the second level to increase the endurance of individual soldiers. If it's just for battery life, isn't it a gathering bag? Fusion energy is all infinite functions. Good or bad only depends on the instantaneous output. This determines the upper limit of the power of your individual weapon. Why don't you understand this? Looking at Meng Ze's words, Dream Star Night Light was a little angry. How did this Meng Ze enter the StarCraft simulation world? Although the StarCraft simulation world seems to be a game, it is indeed the crystallization of the highest level of technology in the Imperial Federation, and it is even said that there is a great element of accidents to create this miraculous world. Under normal circumstances, raising the civilization level of the Imperial Federation by 2 levels may not be able to create such a thing, because this world has at least 1/8 level technology high-latitude energy void creation, which is a technology unique to the 8th level civilization of the universe. Dream Star Night Glow's family belongs to the top level of the Imperial Federation, so he knows more information. So he is also very angry that a little white like Meng Ze, who doesn't even understand common sense, has mixed into the interstellar world. A good world that cultivates interstellar commanders, even Xiaobai has mixed in. Meng Ze didn't understand at all how Dream Star Night Glow suddenly became angry. Seeing the angry look of the big guy, he didn't dare to ask other questions in his heart, and he didn't dare to speak. How did you get in? Dream Star Night Light suddenly asked. Hearing Dream Star's question, Meng Ze realized that there might be something wrong with the question he had just asked, but for a moment he didn't know how to answer. Right here, the normally unknown system suddenly popped up a message. Due to the lack of basic knowledge of commanders, the risk of exposure is greatly increased. Solutions are provided on an ad hoc basis for the discretion of the commander. Special entry methods for StarCraft simulation world. 1. Obtain blank entry cards through special channels. 2. Special contributors are granted additional qualifications for the Imperial Federation. The system will correct the commander's personal information according to the commander's choice, and complete the final docking with the StarCraft simulation world. Seeing the system's prompts, Meng Ze immediately understood that his system didn't seem to be doing anything good. Before inexplicably accessing this world, Meng Ze thought that he had obtained a world that could be used as a standalone machine like in the online novel. Who knows that these are all real players, and they are another big guy in a country whose technological level is significantly higher than that of Earth. Although the communication with them, by myself, is systematically translated, there is no language barrier. But apparently his cognitive level could not keep up. He didn't care when he encountered a dog-headed bun like this before, even if it was a little abnormal. But Dream Star Night Light is obviously not such a person, and he asked questions this time and found the wrong object. For such a long time, there were no problems, which made Meng Ze a little slack. Now, suddenly something went wrong. Fortunately, the system immediately gave itself a hint. According to the content, Meng Ze understands the purpose of the system, apparently to ask Meng Ze to choose a fake identity and make up lies by himself, and then the system will help him improve his identity certificate based on Meng Ze's lies. Meng Ze can probably guess that the first is a related person, or at least a blank card relationship, and the second is a dependent people that feels like an indigenous subordinate. Thinking about the technological level of the Imperial Federation, it is likely that there will be other small civilizations ruled by him, or the vassals are of this kind. Meng Ze clearly rejected the second identity and chose the first. He did not want to try to be discriminated against, but making up identities also requires skill, and the fewer lies, the better. Starry Night Boss, Don't be angry, I just want to come in and play, so someone helped me arrange it. Meng Ze had a hint of fear on his face. If you want to come in and play, someone will help arrange it, and the level of common sense is pitifully low, and it seems that he is a son brother, who was abandoned by the family. Dream Star Night Glow's heart turned quickly, and he came to the conclusion that Meng Ze was most likely a waste boy brother, so he didn't have the heart to ask anymore. The Imperial Federation is so big, there are countless such things. If it is not directly touched by him, he will not bother to pay attention. Do it yourself, even if you play a game, learn more knowledge. Don't be treated as an idiot by others as soon as you open your mouth. Meng Ze has already labeled brother waste in the heart of Dream Star Night Glow, and he didn't want to say anything. But thinking of Meng Ze's previous performance, I felt that this waste boy brother was a waste, but his personality was not bad, so he opened his mouth to encourage it. Thank you big guy for your guidance, I will definitely study hard. Meng Ze hurriedly stated that this Dream Star Night Glow seemed to be real. Top bigwigs. Well, if you really don't understand, you can also ask me. Meng Ze's attitude made Dream Star Night Glow more satisfied, and finally, he added, seeing the other party's image disappear, Meng Ze breathed a big sigh of relief. Past. Although it is not known what will happen to the exposure, the system attaches so much importance that it will obviously be very serious. But through this incident, Meng Ze felt that his system didn't seem to be a bull. I didn't realize it before, but now I find out that after so long, I turned out to be a black person. Then Meng Ze thought that the so-called wall would not be a cover for the system. However, although his system is not very reliable, but his life has changed is real, Meng Ze complained, still grateful for the system. It's just that from now on, the idea of the omnipotence of the system will no longer exist. Asterisk.
Thank you for watching Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share and subscribe. Have a great day.